headlines on this New Year's Eve. Korea's rival parties make progress in passing a series of key bills that are still stuck in limbo, and others, most notably the 2014 budget. Back to work. Thousands of striking rail workers have returned to their posts, signaling an end to the nation's longest railway walkout that gripped the country for over 3 weeks. And here in Korea, we have less than 2 hours before we ring in the brand new year of 2014. We'll tell you how the country is reflecting back on the past 12 months in a number of ways. With these stories and more, next on Primetime News. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's New Year's Eve here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Yoo Ji-hye.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, back to work. That was the refrain today as thousands of striking rail workers returned to their posts.
It signals an end to the nation's longest railway walkout that gripped the country for over 3 weeks. Our Kim Hyun-bin has our top story.
Over the 22 days, there was much conflict, leaving much damage. All the illegal strikers have come back to work, officially ending the railway strike.
Korail CEO Choi Yeon-hae added that subways will operate normally starting January 6, while KTX and freight trains, among others, will normalize starting on the 14th. The timeline was made possible after striking union workers returned to work at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, Korea time. Union leaders promised to call off the strike Monday after the country's two main political parties agreed to form a parliamentary subcommittee under the Transport Ministry. The first subcommittee meeting Tuesday will focus mainly on ways to enhance the management of Korail without privatizing part of its KTX bullet train service. Union leaders have pledged to be actively involved every step of the way.
We will be actively involved in the new subcommittee to guide it in the right direction, and we will share the process with the public to enhance our public railway system.
The formation of the new subcommittee was one of 5 changes the union asked for during talks with management last week. The union said the government's plan to form a subsidiary to run a new KTX line was actually the first step toward privatizing rail services in the future, something the government still denies. The parliamentary committee will be made up of an equal number of members from the two main rival parties, but it will be headed by a ruling Henry Party lawmaker. Meanwhile, 31 union leaders who have arrest warrants out for them have agreed to turn themselves in to police. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
And the National Assembly races to pass key bills before the year's end, including next year's budget bill.
And vital to this process, earlier on Tuesday, both rival parties reached a compromise on a bill to reform the National Intelligence Service. Our Ji Myung-gil reports.
With the clock ticking down to the new year, the National Assembly continues to work on passing a number of key bills this Tuesday, including next year's budget worth nearly $340 billion. There is one sticking point that remains, the Foreign Investment Promotion Act. The Henry Party wants to pass it alongside the 2014 budget bill and another on reforming the National Intelligence Service. However, the Democratic Party remains opposed to the Foreign Investment Act. The DP says it favors conglomerates as it requires a Korean company to hold a minimum stake of just 50% to merge with a foreign firm. Without an agreement there, the 2014 budget bill may not pass before the midnight deadline. If it doesn't, the government would have to come up with a provisional budget which would be limited to financing mandatory expenditures, some public organizations, and previously approved business projects. While the 2014 budget remains in limbo, the ruling Henry Party and the main opposition Democratic Party did agree on a package deal to reform the National Intelligence Service earlier Tuesday. The Special Parliamentary Committee on Reforming the State Spy Agency has worked out the revisions, which include banning NIS agents from gaining access to government offices and media outlets. As lawmakers haggle over an agreement on the pending bills, Prime Minister Chung Hong-won and other cabinet ministers are on site at the National Assembly, urging swift passage. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Well, no matter how you slice it, 2013 was not a year in which much got done in Korea's National Assembly.
The ruling and main opposition parties were at each other's throats over allegations of election meddling, a missing summit transcript, and much, much more. Our Kim Min-ji has this report.
The Park Geun-hye administration got off to a rocky start as the Government Organization Act had not yet passed the National Assembly. With the ruling and opposition parties failing to reach an agreement over the government reorganization plan, Park became the first president in Korea's history to take office before receiving approval from parliament. President Park was sworn in office without finishing the appointments for her prime minister and cabinet members.
The National Assembly has become a sticking point for the new administration.
I think the lack of progress on negotiations on the reorganization plan is due to the top-down decision-making style of the ruling party and the president.
New allegations about state agencies meddling in the presidential election also took a toll on the relationship between the two sides. With investigations failing to provide clear-cut answers, the rival parties stepped up their attacks on each other. The confrontation escalated after the transcript from the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit was reported missing. The transcript held the key to determining whether former South Korean President Roh Moo-hyun made remarks to nullify the West Sea border with North Korea. The Saenuri Party held opposition lawmaker Moon Jae-in, chief of staff at the time, responsible, while opposition parties said the Saenuri Party illegally got hold of the transcript to influence the presidential election.
Lawmaker Moon Jae-in himself will know very well, so I cannot say to him to hold whatever responsibility. He should decide for himself.
The prosecutors should conduct a fair and detailed investigation into how the transcript was leaked.
Despite the wrangling, lawmakers from both sides were able to successfully mediate the prolonged nationwide railway strike that came to an end on Monday. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
And President Park Geun-hye expressed her determination to work harder in the new year to revitalize the economy and stabilize the people's livelihoods.
In her New Year's address to the nation on Tuesday, President Park called on the public to join in efforts in laying the groundwork for an economic leap. The president said she will pursue reforms to root out corruption and other irregularities. On North Korea, President Park reiterated that her administration will maintain a firm security posture and crisis management system in preparation for any possible provocation by the North and lay the foundation for a peaceful reunification of the two Koreas. And there are signs that North Korea could once again threaten South Korea right after an annual military training exercise between South Korea and the U.S. that is scheduled for March.
The Seoul-based Institute for National Security Strategy says there's a high possibility Pyongyang could attempt a fourth nuclear test or launch another ballistic missile following the annual Key Resolve and Full Eagle drills. The institute adds the move could be to strengthen internal unity, which could have been affected by the execution of Chang Sung-taek, the once powerful uncle of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In response, the South Korean military said it was ready to retaliate if provoked. Pyongyang recently dispatched 60 attack helicopters and 200 pieces of heavy artillery to islands near the western maritime border.
And we now turn over to Boshingak, where the annual bell ringing ceremony will take place at midnight to mark the new year.
And our Yu Lian is standing by on the site. Now, Lian, tell us more.
Hi guys, I'm standing in front of Boshingak at the downtown district of Jonglo. Now, the Boshingak is the biggest and the most traditional venues to celebrate the ringing of the new year. Now, we have less than 2 hours until midnight, and already I'm seeing a lot of people coming here surrounding the pavilion, and police are being stationed everywhere to control the quickly growing crowd. Around 100,000 people are expected to be here with me tonight. Now, the weather tonight is pretty nice, I must say. It's around this time of the year that temperatures drop to as low as minus 10 degrees. But right now, the last time I checked, the temperature was around 7 degrees in downtown Seoul. Now, I've talked to some of the people that have been out here, some of them since dawn actually, and asked them what has brought them here tonight. Take a look.
We came for visiting and tourism, and we heard on the guide that Korea was very special for New Year's Eve, to spend New Year's Eve, and we heard about the ceremony of the bell ringing, and this is why we're here.
Afterwards, we are gonna go clubbing and see the special night in Korea and Seoul and have fun.
Sounds like they have a very exciting night ahead of them. Now, for those of you nearby, I really highly encourage them to stop by and get a glimpse of this really vibrant atmosphere here at Bosinggag. And of course, the thing to note here is transportation. Right now, all the roads around the Bosinggag Pavilion will be blocked from 11 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. So do leave your cars at home. Now, the city's buses and subways will be running longer than usual until 2 a.m. But the subway will not be stopping at Donggak Station, the station closest to Bosinggag, for safety reasons, so please do take note of that. Guys, we are inching closer and closer to midnight, and as the atmosphere is heating up, I'm getting pretty excited out here, and I really wish you guys were out here with me. I'll be bringing you more updates in just about an hour. Guys?
All right, thank you, Leanne. That was our UDN reporting live from Bosinggag in Chongno, downtown Seoul. And that was the vibe in the capital north of the Han River. And now let's turn things over to the south of the river.
Right, we're going to go over to Arirang News' Song Ji-sun, who is going to tell us how New Year's Eve is going down Gangnam style near Gangnam Station. How's it going there?
Well, guys, I hope you can feel the vibe right behind me with thousands of people gathering here to spend their last hours of 2013 in Gangnam style. Now, this show called Brilliant Countdown 2014 has just kicked off at 9 p.m. with a lot of singers in the lineup like 2 a.m. Lee Seung-hwan and Kim Tae-woo expected to sing until midnight. And of course, if you have been around this area over the past couple of days, you must have seen one of these wish balls on the streets. And now over 50 of these balls will fly into the air 15 meters off the ground with people's resolutions and wishes written on them. Now let's take a listen from what their peoples on the street about their New Year's resolutions.
As I am entering college this coming year, I look forward to having a full freshman year. I also want to study English harder so I can be prepared.
I wish the health of my family and also want to enjoy my college life.
Well, I'm from Japan, and it's a bit embarrassing, but it was in the Gangnam Style song, and my mom just thought because it's a well-known kind of a bit posh area, so at least it would be safe. Yeah.
So the stage will be filled with more music as the countdown goes into midnight, and you still have time to catch up those music. And I'll be back with more of the New Year's excitement at the top of the hour. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Ji-sun, for that. We'll check back in with you soon. That was Arirang News' Song Ji-sun live at Gangnam Station in southern Seoul. And looking ahead now to 2014, the price of natural gas is set to go up by roughly 5.8% starting January 1st, reflecting a recent hike in import prices. The Korea Gas Corporation made the announcement Tuesday, saying that the decision was made on growing demands for gas after 3 of the country's nuclear reactors were shut down earlier this year. The price of gas for households will go up by 5.7%, translating into an additional $4 per household a month. The industrial sector will see a 6.1% increase, and the service sector a 5.5% hike. Now, this is the 3rd time this year gas prices have gone up after similar surges in February and August. The world saw signs of recovery in most advanced economies this year, but these were counterbalanced by recessions in a number of emerging markets. Our Jinja reports on what to expect in the global economy in 2014.
The world is about to bid farewell to 2013, a year in which confidence in the euro was restored and economic growth in China accelerated again, while most emerging markets suffered one of their worst economic crises in decades. So what about next year? Economists project tepid but steady growth in 2014, with recent economic indicators looking positive. The U.S. Federal Reserve provided a concrete example of that optimism earlier in December when it decided to start scaling back its monetary stimulus based on the strength of recent signals from the economy. The International Monetary Fund also made an upward adjustment to its projections for next year's growth rate to around 3.6% from roughly 2.9% this year. However, analysts say there are still some obstacles to overcome, with corporations still unwilling to invest and the high unemployment rate in the U.S. And as for the world's second-largest economy, China, it forecasts its economy and financial market to be on a steady path next year as it tries to shift from its current traditional export-led model to a more domestic, consumption-driven one. While no official economic target has been announced for next year, many economists predict that Beijing will set a similar 7.5% or higher goal. And the Eurozone, while looking a lot more stable than it did at this time last year, remains the biggest question mark for the global economic outlook. In 2013, the Eurozone finally came out of a long recession and confidence in the single currency was restored. The trend toward stability is likely to continue in 2014, however, the growth outlook remains on the downside. Overall, analysts point out that despite some signs of a brighter future ahead, there is a need to address the big structural problems and imbalances that continue to weigh on the global economy. Ju, Arirang News.
Now we take a closer look at how the global economy affected Korea in 2013 in terms of how we spend. Our Connie Kim says there has been a strong reemergence of two types of consumptive behaviors.
Korean society has entered a slow growth stage, and in 2013, that was accentuated in two already existing consumption patterns that came to the fore.
As a response to the slow economic growth, consumers are purchasing low-cost everyday products, while at the same time spending more on goods that reflect their tastes and interests.
The Korea Trend Research Institute included budget phones and less expensive convenience store brand products on its list of 2013 hit items. Budget phones targeted the niche market of customers who only wanted the basic functions of a cell phone, while the convenience store brands targeted consumers looking for bargains.
I usually purchase convenience store brand snacks and coffee. I buy these products because they offer a wide variety, lower prices, and are high quality.
However, on the other hand, individuals showed a different purchasing trend when it came to small luxuries, including desserts, liquor, and premium perfumes.
The luxury trend has become widespread, and consumer purchases of small luxuries have become even more popular because of the relatively low cost.
When it comes to home appliances, consumers prefer to buy multifunction electronic products such as refrigerators that preserve kimchi, make carbonated water and purify water, and air washers that also function as humidifiers and air purifiers. These new categories of appliances were popular as they reduce energy consumption and free up extra space.
Analysts say the consumption trend for 2014 will resemble a barbell where consumers select products that offer traditional conveniences and at the same time, new experiences. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
It was a great year for South Korean athletes plying their trade at home and across the globe.
And Stephen Shea joins us in the Sports Center to tell us about those who dominated the headlines this year. Hello there.
Happy New Year's Eve, guys. Well, there were several athletes who were mainstays on the sports front page, and one of the biggest stories of the year was the return of figure skating queen Kim Yeon-ah. She came back right where she left off, winning the Worlds in March and easily taking the top spot at Zagreb in her comeback from injury earlier this month. Kim will participate in the Korea Figure Skating Championships, which opens on Friday, and they will likely be her final domestic competition. And at the verge of retirement at the age of 24, she's expecting to win gold at the Sochi Olympics, a fitting swan song for the world-class champ. And talking about another lady that ruled her sport, top-ranked golfer Park In-bi eagled, birdied, and parred her way to the top of the LPGA Tour. Her achievements this year: 3 major wins, 6 total wins, 33 wins at number 1, or rather 33 weeks, the LPGA Player of the Year honors, and the money title. Meanwhile, we can't forget about teenage phenom turned pro Lydia Ko, who won her second start as a pro and finished the year as 4th in the world. And moving on, baseball star Chu Shin-soo made a comeback into relevance in the majors last season, making a resurgence with the Cincinnati Reds. And MLB.com agrees. They named him the Reds MVP this year over the face of the franchise Joey Votto and team home run leader Jay Bruce. He was given credit for excelling in the leadoff spot, giving his team a load of opportunities to score and win. Now on to Tuesday's KBL action. Anyang KGC beat the KCC Aegis 71-65. Now for the top matchup, the Mobis Phoebus go up against the Goyang Orions. Now Mobis starts out on top and they're up by 8 at halftime. But the Orions forward Anthony Richardson takes over, scoring 13 of his 15 points in the final period. Mobis gets the last shot, but it misses, and the Orions win 73-71. Now we go on to the V-League. LIG takes on Samsung Hwajae in their 3rd meeting this season. They're even at 1 game apiece. Now LIG gets it going early on, and they take the first 2 sets with relative ease. Samsung rebounds in the 3rd and 4th to tie it all up. Now we go on to the final set. It's shot for shot, but Leo has a huge game with 50 points for Samsung, and they take it and win the match 3-2. Now that does it for me here at the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. I'll see you in 2014 for the latest in the world of sports.
Before your day ends and another begins, get the latest news live from Seoul.
Residents whose features restrictions is on the rise. Closing ceremony.
Expert analysis from Asia's heartbeat.
The legislature, circumstances.
With a viewpoint only Korea's global network can provide.
The United States, the latest report.
Unrivaled access from a team always on standby.
Meaning came on the news are trying to cover up the South's true intentions.
Well, it looks like we will be ringing in the new year with a mild winter day here in Korea, which is good for those who are spending New Year's Eve outdoors.
That's right. For details, let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Bo-kyung.
Good evening, guys. It's currently 5 degrees here in Seoul, and temps will dip to -1 at midnight, so the cold will be bearable. Well, every language has its own New Year's greeting. Wishing you the best in 2014 in Korean is 새해 복 많이 받으세요, and the same expression is used for the Lunar New Year. Well, shifting gears to Korea's weather, at 7:26 a.m., Dokdo will be the first in the country to see the sunrise. Now, keep in mind that Seoul is currently seeing 2 times the normal levels of fine dust, so be sure to have a mask with you. Otherwise, on New Year's Day, those of you in the central regions, including in Seoul, may see snow showers in the afternoon. Taking a look at New Year's numbers, Seoul reaches 5 degrees while Daegu and Gwangju peak at 8. As for other regions, Jeju tops out at 12 degrees, meanwhile Dokdo and Mount Kumgang make it to 5 and -5 degrees respectively. Happy New Year, or 새해 복 많이 받으세요 to all our viewers, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Bo-kyung. And that's a broadcast on this New Year's Eve. I'm Yoo Ji-hye in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for watching, and join us again in about half an hour for our New Year's Eve special, ringing in 2014.